let me suggest an Uber theme to kind of start out with. And there are 2 or 3 threads that could go from this theme. That has to do with the way we work today. Because of mobile technologies and the power of handhelds and ubiquitous bandwidth, we all organize our work lives much differently than we did even 5 years ago. And our companies are organized differently, how we recruit people and the kinds of talents that we look for are different. But if we're doing that, that means all the people that we're trying to reach as marketers are doing the same thing. So the tools that have been very liberating for us personally to be able to work where we want, when we want, also makes it more challenging to reach people with our marketing message.
Well, I think if you look at the marketing activities on the airline side over the past few years, I mean, Cathay Pacific is a very traditional company, and in the past has been very much about print, focusing on the frequent business traveler to Asia. And we're not so focused on the fact that people are looking at emails 24 hours a day, different times a day, because we're an airline. People are traveling time zones, so they've always kind of been that way. But I think for us as a company, we've looked at technology and how are people communicating with us?
You know, I think with technology, there's been a big emphasis on data management and data analytics and really sort of capturing insight and how you market with that intelligence. And I think there's a huge trend for companies to invest in gathering intelligence behind their data and then also reaching people in an appropriate platform in an appropriate way.
I see what's happening with this 24/7 available access to any type of content. That certainly has really challenged NetApp to change the way in which we view how best to communicate, not only with our direct audience, but also with our indirect channel partners. And you know, with 70–80% of our business now going through channels, we have to really recognize that the way in which our partners want to receive information has truly changed. There's truly a migration from more traditional events that have really led to how do you leverage paid, earned, and owned media in a way that creates a convergence of content anytime they want to see it.
The ultimate measure of marketing is whether you change people's behavior. And I think what's exciting about what we now have with the communications and media delivery that exists today is that unlike print media, there was no way to tell if your touch or your influence actually changed somebody's behavior. The online world kind of creates both the expectation or maybe the illusion in some cases that you're creating changes of behavior, or you can measure that specific change of behavior.
So taking it back to the question of how has the work environment changed over the last 5 years, and how do I see it changing potentially? So I'd say it used to be about work-life balance, and now I see it more as about work-life integration and being okay with work-life integration. Being on your email in line somewhere, to me, is a good thing, because if I knock out 5 emails while I'm in line for lunch, I don't have to do that at my desk, or I can go home a little bit earlier potentially. So it's about work-life integration.
2 words that have entered our lexicon, I think, to a great extent over the last few years, which come from the availability of data and information, are quote transparency and authenticity. And I think they're both kind of overused at this point. But the fact that people have become very sophisticated about the level of information that they're getting and can kind of cut through the noise and see through what people are trying to manipulate them to do. I mean, I think how people read communications today is a much more sophisticated perspective than they may have taken, let's say, 5 to 10 years ago. And so I think the need for us, to communicate in a very authentic, and I don't know what that means often, but I think it means something different for each individual company and person. But and also to be transparent with the communication, to not appear manipulative.
If I'd called my father at work 30 years ago, first off, it would have been very extraordinary. It would have been intrusive. And when he got to the phone, the only thing he'd get asked is, "What's wrong?" But now, people at work are involved in an endless flow of conversation and messaging, not just with their coworkers and their managers and their customers and their suppliers. At the same time, all day long, they're involved in an endless flow of messages from family and from friends and from would-be friends and network partners. And our attention span not only has gotten short, I'd say, I'm not sure it's gotten any shorter than it ever was, but it has been dramatically reconfigured as people began carrying their own telecommunications and computing power on their person.
I was at Google, and it was very clear that in sort of the way we communicated was email. Absolutely, email was a fast, huge medium. Everybody was sending email all the time. And then moving to an earlier stage company with a younger set of people, it was all instant messaging. So we had gone from sort of medium form communication to snippets, and this just very fast, kind of quick and dirty, here's what I need, here's what you need, I think this, I think that, and we sort of move on. It's also very interruptive, like you were saying, where it's kind of, you're doing something and you get interrupted with a quick conversation here.
If I just look at my kids, how much more multi-threaded they are than I was. I was sequential for many, many years. We operated sequentially. We marketed sequentially. Now you have to market in a multi-threaded fashion, right? And you're bombarded. Stephen, you're absolutely right. If I look at the stuff, let me just talk about as a consumer, let alone a producer. As a consumer, I'm sick and tired of receiving trite emails that are completely meaningless, unthought through, out of context, and I completely dismiss them. And how much money is being wasted with that? And you go, why aren't they using the analytics they have? Why aren't they analyzing my website? Why aren't they thinking about my problem and then actually offering me a solution that's in context?